The final essay for this course is an argument analysis. And this is where you're really combining all of the skills that you've developed over the semester. And in this case, the essay is a little bit different because rather than giving your opinion on a topic, what you're really doing is evaluating the argument. So instead of saying, I agree/disagree with the author on this topic, you're saying the argument is or is not effective. And there are three different kinds of arguments that authors can make. They can make an argument, a claim of fact, where they're saying that something is true. They can make a claim of policy, where they're saying this is something that we should do to solve X problem. Or they're making an argument of value, saying that this is a good or a bad thing. They're saying, something is better than another. So those different kinds of claims are what you're evaluating, and you're evaluating whether or not the evidence is sound, whether or not they have made good use of the means of persuasion, and you're looking at how they've provided not only their claim, but whether they've addressed the counterclaim and whether they have provided sufficient and relevant evidence. And that's what's going to go into your thesis. So you want to say something about the author's argument was effective because they addressed the counterclaims, they provided a substantial amount of evidence, and their tone was scientific, or something along those lines. On the other hand, you could say the argument was ineffective because it didn't provide enough evidence, it didn't address any of the counterclaims, and it failed to properly use all of the different means of persuasion. So you're really focusing on their reasoning, you're looking at their research and support, and you're trying to poke holes in their argument. And that's where this second source comes in. If the source didn't provide sufficient evidence, then you can say this outside source would have been a good source to provide evidence for this particular point, for this particular support. Or if you think that the argument was really well done, you could say here's additional support. Here's another article that agrees with this perspective. As you're writing this, think about how the author has built trust. What established the ethos? Why do you trust this author? Is this author credible? When you're looking at the logos of the argument, you have to think, does the argument make logical sense? And is the author guilty of committing any logical fallacies? Is all of the evidence in order? Is it all substantial? Is it all sufficient? Is it relevant? Does she explain it? Or does she kind of leave some things up to questioning? And then finally, for pathos, did the author use pathos effectively? And this could be humor, it could be fear, it could be love, it could be pulling on your heartstrings, or it could be saying that you should be afraid of something or paranoid about something or creeped out. And if there was an over-reliance of pathos, then it might not have been used effectively, and that would be a good thing to address in terms of tone as well. So once you've looked at the ethos, logos, and pathos, then there's the fact of, did the author address the counterclaims and give it the amount of respect that it deserved? And if it didn't, you could provide a source that gives a counterclaim that the author missed. And then you have to think about, did the author provide a rebuttal to that counterclaim that he or she included or did not include? And so it's really looking at how this argument has been constructed and whether or not it was done effectively, as opposed to responding to the topic. So let me know if you have any questions about this final essay, and thank you guys so much for all of the work that you've been doing so far.